Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and good night. And as always, welcome to War in the Webway. I'm Ollie. I'm joined by Alan. Say hello, Alan.
And we are back.
After
We're
a
back.
month
What's it
off.
been like? 6 weeks? 5 weeks?
Something like that. 6 weeks. I think we did it just before September tournaments, just before we went up to Goonhammer.
That was it. Yeah, we did, didn't we? Yeah.
Because I don't think
And,
I think we
and
posted
then-
about Goonhammer, but we didn't actually talk about Goonhammer.
No, we didn't, did we? No.
Congratulations on that, by
But
the way.
then we were like, oh, cheers. But then it'll be like, I think we got to a stage where it was like, oh, next week's will be the
Slate.
slate.
The slate will come in. We'll wait for the slate, and right, it's this Thursday. Is it going to be the slate? No. Then it was the LGT. It's like, well, the slate will come after the LGT, right? No. So we've just basically been like having some ideas about what we want to talk about, but it's all been on hold because of the data slate. So it will surprise very few listeners that we're going to talk about the data slate today.
Yeah.
No?
There's not much to talk about, but we are, but there's not much to talk about. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about it in terms of and what that means for us for the next. I don't even know when the next
3 months
slate's coming out.
Because it's a Munitorium field manual rather than a data slate. So I think the next one comes out in 3 months' time as a full data slate.
Okay.
Because this was mainly
we desperately need that.
God, yeah. Right. This is going to feel a little bit moany. I'm just going to tell our listeners this is going to be a little bit moany, and apologies in advance.
It's going to be a
shocker.
thing. Yeah.
We completely understand, but I don't think either of us are massively optimistic after Wednesday, because it came out on Wednesday this week rather than usually Thursday.
It probably got leaked or something, and they probably just went, crap, and just dumped it out there.
Yeah, probably. So,
something like that. Yeah.
Do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
Okay, you start. You start, mate. What's your overwhelming initial thoughts of, specifically for Custodes, and then outside or after that, the wider game and the other factions and what that then means for Custodes?
Yeah, it's a good way of framing this, right? So, I think the Custodes points were stupidly light, and what I mean by that is we had Trajann went down. Hang on, I'm just trying to get this. Where's my Munitorium field manual? There it is. So Trajann went down, which was interesting because you were already advocating, and I was coming around to the fact that Trajann was almost an auto take at 140. I think that's an absolute bargain for potentially 12 attacks at damage 3. Him smashing monoliths at 140, you take that every day. And then 4 other things got adjusted.
Go on.
I was going to say, so just at the high level, so 4 other things got adjusted. 3 dreadnoughts and bikes. So the Contemptor going down by 5 points, I think he was 165 down to 160, right? And I think the others went down by 10 points. The Achilles and the Galatus, if I remember rightly. I'm sure it was 165, 175.
Yeah.
And then the bikes have gone down to 75 points a model, which is still far too expensive for bikes. So just on its surface, Trajan's great, but I don't think there's enough points that it's going to really change how the builds work, and the others you still don't really take. But what about you? So 5 points decreases. Points decreases is always good, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could say that. I mean, at least like the Army Builder app thing was slightly different to what it was the week before, right?
Yeah.
At least it wasn't just the same old thing. I mean, I hear your point about we were advocating for Trajann at 150.
Yeah.
I would say yes, we were advocating for him because he gave us something that we don't have in the army. Damage 3. Apart from Blade Champion chaps attacks or like a dread or something, right? Yeah. So he gave us that. I would say that he needs to be around 120. Maybe even a 110 to 15.
After the ignore modifiers clarification and the previous balance data slate, yes, I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Because of his low-key nerf.
Yeah, I think that the whole principle around him being 12 attacks for once. Look, if they want him to be some animal that's better than most marine characters and most other characters in the game, and is like that level that's just below
Primarch
Abaddon
level.
or something, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, Primarch level, right? He isn't a buffing character because he doesn't really give buffs to other people. So he's just got to be a monster in combat.
Yeah, he's got to be. I think what they need to do is probably up him to like 8 or 9 attacks.
Oh yeah,
because 6 attacks is just too little.
Yep.
8 or 9 attacks, the strength 10, I like, but he's only AP2, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
if you're, I mean, the amount of times I've thrown him into marine units which have a 2-up save, and it's because, you know, they're Terminators. I'm thinking, right, damage 3 wounds or something. I'm going to throw them in there. Oh, Armor of Contempt. All of a sudden, my opponent's saving on 3s. And, you know, he's got a captain there in the squad, so he's got a free reroll or something. I don't know. So next thing I know is, you know, I'm giving him 8 or 9 saves to make, maybe even 10 saves. And he's failing 2 or 3 after a reroll. So then it's up to the rest of the squad to do it. So Trajann in and of himself is good, but he's nowhere near his points level. He needs to be much higher attacks, and I think he needs an extra AP. And then I think he'd be starting to get within the realms of where he should be. I think he should probably have his fights first.
I think Trajann doesn't need more attacks. I think fight first Trajann would be amazing at 140. I think it's quite hard to balance him out, and then you're trying to be like, what does he do? And then if he still his double attacks, and he's got 9 attacks, it's an 18 attacks. It just feels a bit much, especially with the feel no pain he's already got on him. But if you have him as fight first, I think that'd be such a good little buff for him. But we're talking about rewriting a data sheet, which they probably won't ever do, right?
Yeah, and I think that this is the problem we've got, is that our data sheets are...
This is what we got for 10th.
Are just not good enough. This is what we said previously, right?
Yeah. So, I'm actually going to offer a counter opinion on this.
Yeah,
it's something that you brought up before, which was the possibility of running Trajann by himself as a solo op. At 140, and with the number of attacks he's got and the damage, he can punch up into decent stuff, even if it's a tank or something like that, maybe a heroic intervention, whatever. You pop his 2+ invuln. I know it's only one phase. I know you got to like tank it in a certain way, and then he can become like more of a roadblock than you really should be. Like that's how I'm thinking of Trajann. Like you've got a 10 points decrease on something that now if you lose him, you're only losing 140 points, which is slightly less than 7.5%, about 7% of your army. And the ability for him to go ape, and if you got a really good opportunity for him to run up, double his attacks, and smash something in the face, then that's amazing. And worst comes to worst, he's still got a 4-up in run of 5 for feel no pain. So I'm more optimistic about that. Get something cheaper that we were already looking at quite heavily. I think that's great. I just think the rest of it is a bit naff. This doesn't change anybody's playstyles.
Yeah. No, and I think you're right in solo. I think that's probably one of the better ways to play him. You can stick him with a squad, but I mean, if he's going with Wardens, you're not going to get any rerolls. Your Wardens may give him some durability, but then it's going to be really difficult for you whether or not to, if you take the hit initially, whether or not for you to understand if you need to pop the 2-up or not. At least if he's on his own, you don't care if he gets charged by 6 Sanguinary Guard, because you're going to pop your 2-up invulnerable save, and then you're just going to just absorb it. You'll keep a reroll, so he'll need to get with your 5-up feel no pain, a lot of damage, a lot of wounds through. So he's probably better that way, and in return that's the thing, they've got a 2-up save.
If you've got 2-up save and Armor of Contempt, then you have to pop you can't pop 5 to explode, you have to pop the extra AP. You just have to.
Yeah, you would need to pop the extra AP, but then all of a sudden your damage output actually just drops dramatically.
Which is fine, but if you're using it as a roadblock, as like a literally delaying so the wardens can get into the unit next turn. If you're using them as a trade piece on an objective, he goes up, clears out the middle objective, something comes after him, you pop the 2+ invuln and you just try and take it for one turn. Like, that's how I'm seeing him. I'm seeing him as a trade piece now rather than as a buffing character to a unit. Maybe I'm wrong on this, right? You obviously got much more experience playing T-Man than I do, but that's basically something that I was thinking about for a little while. Just got cheaper, so I'm very happy with that. But it's not cheap enough to change anything else I'm trying to do. So.
Yeah, I mean, for example, you stick them on an objective and they go, oh, okay, right, well, I know that if I throw this Samurai Guard Squad or Death Company in, I'm using Blood Angels as an example because they're coming out. That's one element. But, oh, look, here's a Bile Predator.
Yeah.
And you can't do a 2-up in shooting, right? So, most armies will have options to kill him in multiple phases. Yeah. So he just... going back to fundamentally, it's just not good enough, the 10 points drop. It should have been 20 to 25.
Yeah, so, sorry to interrupt, but like a Bile Predator, D6 plus 3, call it 7, wounding on 3s is 5 wounds, which means, say 3 get through at 2 damage each, right? The 5-up Feel No Pain will kick in, so you're only going to lose 4 of his wounds, and then in combat, you still got the 2-up invuln. So he'll get softened up. Again, just talking about Blood Angels, he'll get softened up for sure. But having
if he's only got 3 wounds remaining, right?
Yeah.
If he's only got 3 wounds remaining, I mean,
with the 2-up invuln and the 5-up Feel No Pain,
scout squad with grenades.
That's true. Yeah, but then the 5-up Feel No Pain kicks in, right? So
true, but then you're like, how many times have I had 3 wounds gone or something, and I need to roll 1 5-up and never do. So you're starting to get into the realm of.
It becomes riskier, absolutely.
You just need to roll a little bit off 50% to lose him. So,
but the amount that you'd have to commit to get rid of him. Again, I'm trying to play devil's advocate here because I'm trying to think of him running by himself. I don't know. I want to play it. I want to try it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at Havocs, right?
Yeah.
Look how cheap Havocs are. Someone sticks 4 Last Cannon Havocs into him. I mean, it's like, if they got the rerolls, are you on an objective, so they get an extra AP? Well, what's going on there? Today, they don't even need extra AP.
You don't need extra AP, so it'll be 4, which is, say one explodes, it'll be 4, wounding on 2s, which is 4. You shrug 2, D6 plus 1 each. It's going to be 7 wounds, roughly. Sorry, it's going to be 9 wounds total. You 5-up for No Pain, you shrug 3, so it's 6 damage.
He's alive on 1.
Yeah.
And it's yeah. So I think what Custodes players need to kind of be aware of is, if he's on his own, he's more, yes, he is more vulnerable. But if you stick him with a squad, the value of that squad goes significantly higher. And even if you get an amazing rapid ingress off with him in a squad, because your opponent didn't screen it or something, or you've got him in a Land Raider and you got your Land Raider right against the wall, and you can really get juicily into your opponent with him, you're going to need to. That's 340 points if he's with 4 Wardens.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big point sink.
6th of your army.
And if you don't get into the juicier targets, and with the meta where we're moving in towards, which everyone seems to think we are, like Orcs, Necrons are still strong, Guard are going to be really prevalent. Exorcist Sisters are going to be everywhere. It's going to get to a point where...
Maybe not Sisters, but no.
I have a feeling that we're just going to not be able to, even if we get those juicy charges, we're not going to be able to do enough damage.
Yeah. Sorry, the final thoughts on T-Man here before we move on to anything else. When you look at the other characters, a Blade Champion at 110, but Trajann at 140, I just don't understand that. I don't understand how that points difference is different. I also don't understand why Shield Captain's 140, but whatever.
Yeah. It was interesting. I was listening to the Art of War take on it, and Jack Harvester was talking about it, exactly what I've been feeling for quite a long time is, 140 for shield captains is absolutely disgusting.
It's ridiculous.
In a bad way.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Those guys should be 100 points.
100%. The Blade
Yeah,
Champion at 110 or Shield Captain at 140, Blade Champion. But you get a strat for cheaper. No, Blade Champion. This isn't a either or. Not Valoris. Valerian at 110, but Trajann at 140. The points are just all over the place. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, and there's been all this talk about internal balance and stuff like that, but there is such a thing as common sense. And sometimes I look at things and I'm like, I don't understand how they have gone. We've got 3 different shield captains here. Each one does dramatically different things.
Mm-hmm.
Different abilities, but we're all going to lump them together at 140 points.
Mm-hmm.
It's just nuts.
It's madness.
It's absolutely insane. It's almost as if they didn't know. Well, no, I mean, it's pretty obvious that they didn't know what to do, to be honest. They were like, oh crap, with Eldari and GSC, and this is back in the day, being nerfed, what are we going to do about Custodes? Because we can't leave them where they are.
Yep.
So we're going to nerf them. Because they'll be the new front runners. It just beggars belief that was that we're 100. I mean, the shield captain on bike, he's got a great ability, right? I have not seen him run once.
I did.
The reason I haven't seen him run once is because he's absolutely shocking outside that ability.
Yep.
But it's a shame because our HQs now, whenever I start a list, it's always 1 Blade Champion, Valerian, and then I make the decision whether or not I need another Blade Champion, or I go Trajann. That's what it is. And unfortunately, after those 3, I'm running, 400 points.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, just under 400 points, and I'm like, that's 20% of my army on 3 models.
Mm-hmm.
And, whereas they're decent, if any of the other top tier factions were doing 400 points on characters, they would do a lot more than those 3.
100%. Or you'd be like, I'm thinking now Drakari, which is if you lose those characters, you don't actually mind your backup characters. It's a big point to sink into 3. But I do want to go back to Trajann by himself. I think it's a 40 mil base, right? So he's easy to hide and cover. You don't need to get the entire squad in. You can shut down some angles, and then you can, if you put wardens in front of him, for example, you can spend the CP to heroically intervene, to smash some face, to pop the 2+. I like what Trajann could give you potentially. That's my thing. The dreadnoughts aren't low enough. Because
it's how you play them. The issue is you've got Ollie is where we're moving in the meta now. Yeah. Heroic intervention. If someone throws 20 boys and a couple of really good characters in, and you want to heroically intervene, then fine. But he's not going to. I mean, you spend a CP to precision the characters down, and then for the next 4 turns, you're killing 6 boys or 7 boys a turn.
Well, you try. I think what you do is you use Trajann to get rid of the characters, both of them. If it's one of the ones with 2 characters in there, and then the squad that got charged, hopefully whatever's left, tries to do a number of the boys without their buffs up. I think that's the way you do it.
Yeah, I mean you could, but what? Yeah, I see what you mean. And I think it's the proof's in the pudding. I think with our strats, people are saying, oh, I had a game the other day and I was playing against demons, and we were talking about the amount of output an individual custodian model has.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty decent output. It's 5 attacks when you have your explosions on and things like that.
Yep.
The issue we've got is when we get to a state where people are hitting us first, and we're losing 1 or 2 models in a unit, and we've got, say, 2 guys left, or maybe even 3 guys left, all of a sudden, our output just drops off, and we find ourselves being unable to pick up or kill. I threw 3 Venatari into 2 Blood Crushers.
Okay.
And I didn't kill them.
Yeah, because it's T7, 4 wounds. 4 wounds.
Yeah, 4 open wounds, T7, and it's so I was winning. So I was hitting on 2s, had my explosions, winning on 3s because of lance.
About 18 attacks, winning on 3s,
Gave him
12 wounds, 6 saves, and then you killed 1 in a bit.
Yeah, it's what we need to achieve with significantly highly costed units into what they're going into. Not every faction. There'll be factions where my Venatari will pick up and nuke something, but there's factions out there which are doing well and haven't been nerfed in the recent hits, that if they've got a lot of units that if we go into, we're just not going to kill, and as a result of that, we're throwing 150 point, even if it's 6 Venatari, I'm still not 6 Venatari is not going through 6 Blood Crushers, and the Blood Crushers are 80 points cheaper or something than 6 Venatari.
So Blood Crushers 220 for 6.
Oh, so it's 100 points cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's 100 points cheaper.
110 points. 110 points cheaper. What would be
110 points cheaper, and
so it'd be 30, 35, be 24 wounds, 12 get saved. So 6 dead. You might just get it if you get all your explosions off, but you'd hope to guarantee it with 110 points more, right? It's a significant points increase over that.
Yeah, and you might not do it, and then all of a sudden you've got massive trade down.
Oh, and as soon as the next lot of Blood Crushers come in, they'll wipe your Venatari.
Yeah, easily, because they'll just point there.
Red Master will come in, so you got the extra damage.
+1 damage, +1
You've then got you got to pop the strat to keep you alive with the mortals, and then the Blood Crushers smack them, and everyone that you fail, you die. Yeah. It's an interesting one because it hasn't fixed the problem with the army. Final thing before we get into other armies, and hopefully my internet now behaves itself because it just got out again. So if you've stayed with us this far, great. Hopefully it doesn't do it again. We spoke before about potentially bikes with a bike captain. With the points decrease, have you even considered that in your wildest dreams? Or have you completely still written that out?
No. The only one. I mean, obviously Trajann. I am running Trajann, so that 10 points is welcome. But the only thing that's actually remotely interesting to me is the 155 points of Killus.
I was going to say that's going to be the one, right?
Yeah, and it would be at a push the Galatas, and it would be on the as a rapid ingress.
Throwaway piece.
Because that's the only way you can get around the 6-inch move.
Yeah, it's 6-inch move for Dreads is just unforgivable. Okay.
It's dreadful.
So, current not data slate, but current Uniform Field Manual won't really change our play. What will change our play is the opposition that we'll be facing. So there's been some pretty interesting nerfs in terms of sisters going up all over the place. One of our hated enemies, Drakari, they got a bunch of points nerfs. Death Guard got cheaper. How are you feeling in terms of the wider meta, in terms of what you might be facing?
Well, we're going to a tournament in 2 weeks now?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. I'm expecting to see a lot of guard. I'm expecting to see, like I said earlier, Exorcist sisters, and there's normally quite a few Death Guard hanging around our meta, so I'm expecting to see some of them. And there's a few Orc players in London as well, so I'm assuming to see some of them. I don't know. It's weird because whereas before, because there's there's quite a lot of like really high end players in London. Any tournament we went to, there'd always be like that little top tier that would always be like running disgusting lists, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was it you said to me about Darksphere once? That it's a Shark Tank.
That's an absolute Shark Tank. Jesus.
Yeah.
I turned up the first
lists
time I played, and I was like, "Oh, it'll be fine." It was not. It was a Shark Tank.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm expecting to see kind of like a lot of this disgusting stuff. So I mean, I would probably say how we deal with it is gonna over the next month or so we'll be able to see. I don't buy Games Workshop's argument around if we lower the ones at the top, then the ones at the bottom can get more or become more into it, have more of a competitive chance. I don't buy that at all. I lost to Thousand Suns a lot harder than I lost to Necrons.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Interesting. I mean, T-Sun's been nerfed from space as well, right? So the ones that probably got hit hard were T-Suns, Sisters, and a little bit Necrons, not massively.
Yeah, I think maybe that was a bad analogy, but I just, or a bad way of looking at it. But I generally don't feel that some of the armies that we struggled into, that were at the top, I think we struggled just as hard into armies in the middle that weren't touched, or even just who were enhanced to some degree.
So I'm looking at it and I'm getting worried by like things like GSC. Like, I have no idea how Custodes play into GSC, because GSC got points decreases across the board, right? I'm just trying to find it. Yeah, I got massive points decreases.
You just need to turtle up. You just need to turtle up, get on objectives and turtle up with your wardens.
But everything's so cheap. You've only got 2 squads of them, like you said before. As soon as you start picking up wounds on Custodes, and the fact that they come back, and then you got demo charges and grenades, and like the output will always be punching down into GSC, and then they've all got just got cheaper.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird because I keep thinking to myself, I need to increase, in order to be competitive, I need to increase my scoring capability, which means I need to have more disposable units.
Yep.
Oh, okay, great. Imperial agents have just come along. Oh, we're really missing durable disposable units.
Deathwatch.
And when I say that, I mean no, I was thinking of the subductors.
Deathwatch is 100 points.
And then they just go
T4.
They just increase the cost.
You got what? Deathwatch didn't get the cost increased, did they?
No.
Oh,
the
subductors,
or whatever.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. They're only 1 wound each, though, right?
So I was
like, pain?
No, they don't. But they've got the 4-pin vulnerable, haven't they? And it's where I was going to use them is into people like GSC, or into people like Drukhari, or even Orcs, right? I mean, they won't be that effective into Orcs because of the higher toughness. But if your opponent charges them, and say for example, this squad of witches are easily going to wipe that subductors or whatever, I don't know, right? Half of me, because it's the fight and death on a 4+, half of me are going to fight back. There's still 10 attacks back at strength 4, AP 1, right?
Hitting on 4s, 5
so,
hits, 3 wounds. Seriously,
I mean, you're still going to take a few.
I'm genuinely liking Deathwatch. I'm liking Deathwatch to have 4 shields and 200 points on T4 bodies, and then a bunch of hammers, and then a couple of the Inferno flamers, bolus flamers. So
what, a 200-point unit?
Yeah, 200-point unit. You get 12 heavy thunderhammer attacks, rerolling 1s or rerolling all hits if you're a Xenos, with dev wounds on them, and then you're gonna get double flamer in there as well. And they've got.
I would say 5-man if I was going to run them. I think you're taking them to do what your custodian should be doing anyway.
Yeah, I know. But so I originally had them at 5-man, 100 points, and having 2 hammers, 2 shields.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you think about knights as an ally? Just to add something extra.
Which version are you thinking? The shooty ones, the Helverins? or the armigers?
I'm thinking shooty ones because I mean, they're battle line. Um, I'm actually thinking potentially the Moiraxes,
Okay.
with the different options for shooting.
Would you take
I actually
the
like the
Tesla one
conversion
or
beams.
the conversion beams? Okay. Is that the one that gets
I
stronger the
actually
further
do
away you
like
shoot
them.
it?
Yeah, it's only one shot, but it's like I don't know. I just enjoy that mechanism. Um, oh no, maybe it's one shot per arm, but I just enjoy it. I think the reason I'm thinking about them is because um, I just like the fact it's good OC battle line and the speed of them. Then they're not that they're smaller on base size than a Caladius.
Mm-hmm.
So it means that I can move them around a bit. And if someone was to say to me, "Oh, someone's going to stick out a gladiator or something, or a Leman Rust or a tank commander to kill that armiger," I'm not going to bat an eyelid. I'd rather they did that on an armiger rather than a Caladius.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's fair. So I'm a big fan of war dogs for CSM because of the same exactly what you said. They move really fast. They got great OC. Like I'm a big fan of that. I just don't like any of the Helver of the Warglaive because you don't get enough attacks from the chainsaw and you don't get really enough shooting attacks. Only 8 shooting attacks from the Helver. I think you're right that the Moirax gets interesting because you can take. So I'm just trying to get up now. You can take the Siege Claw. So 4 attacks,
mm,
hitting on 3, strength 12, minus 3, d6 plus 2. So it's got good AP, it's got good ability to punch up. Only 4 attacks granted, but that's what the chain axe has got. And then you get a more interesting gun on it. I'd probably take the lightning lock still, just for 8 attacks, sustain hits too, doing something that. Sorry, 6 attacks, strength 8. Doing something that you don't really have in Custodes, which is just volume fire. Um, over a conversion beam, which is just
yeah,
fun.
yeah. I mean, that's one thing that I'm really concerned about is volume output. Um, some of the armies now with the points reductions are just going to be absolutely board swamping, and um, we need to get to a position where we can dig out units quickly, and then as we start to take hits, then our presence drops. We still need to be able to clear big units of super. I mean, the boys are going to be everywhere. They're so cheap, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, GSC, acolyte hybrids or the big ones with hammers.
Yep.
They're going to be an absolute shocker to clear. But it's just so interesting where it's going to go. The problem is we just don't have the tools to be able to deal with it. I don't think at the
See,
moment.
I think there's probably play here for double Moirax, Lightning Lock, Claw. The Moiraxes get 3 heroic interventions, so you get even more movement from them. They're still OC. They're still OC 8, and they move 12. And like you say, people just then need to commit to that and not going into your Custodes. And that's going to be... How many points is that? What's the Moirax? Moirax. 160. So it's 320 points. I actually think that's a very good way of spending 320 points for Custodes. Two fast, good OC units that protect your wardens.
Yeah.
By being a distraction, basically, right? So if somebody...
I mean, it is a lot of points, though.
It's a sixth of your army, but we're saying that with Trajann and 4 wardens. I'd rather have the bodies... Sorry, I'd rather have the Moiraxes that do something different to the rest of the army and then keep your wardens safer rather than another unit of wardens with a character.
I guess it also solves the problem of battle line.
And it's battle line.
Because where we're going heavily into wardens and characters, which we need to, right? Because we don't have the durability outside of the wardens. It's an interesting one because we then usually run 1, if not 2 guard units, which.
And at the moment, your one
if
goes to
we're running,
Draxus.
yeah, at the moment our 1 goes with Draxus, but as soon as that's killed, as soon as that's dead, then my opponent, if they're For example, Goonhammer. So I was.
I thought we weren't going to do this.
Well, no, it just annoyed it. Okay, so it's four. I was 4-0. I go into Necrons on the stream table on Hellstorm Wargaming, and I'm winning. And on the last turn, he does the secret mission battle line in my objective in my deployment and kill my battle line. So I've got no battle line on. You know, he's the hypercrypt. I can't hide from him, and he's got so much output. He just nukes the unit because they're just custodian guards at the end of the day. Next game, I'm playing Thousand Suns, exactly the same. He uses his Umbrellific Crystal or whatever, ports his battle line over. Magnus, because he's got the double move, can just stick his wing out and get line of sight. Bang, they're gone. There's absolutely nothing I can do to stop him getting that. To stop him from getting 20 points on the secret mission at the end, and he won that by secret mission as well. So having more battle line will reduce your opponent's ability to kind of rely on that one. I think we need to move away from thinking that guard should be holding down our home objective. I think guard should be the main recipient of rapid ingress, in my opinion. Not wardens. I think wardens should be the meat grinder in the middle, and the guard should be either the rapid ingress or the advance and charge with the blade champs. That's what I think we should be.
See, the thing I'm always surprised by how you play with Custodes is that you don't make things sticky. So that's how I would play the guard. I'd play them with a blade champion on your home objective turn 1, make it sticky, move out to then clear your home, like your second objective. So you've got to put something crap out on that. Then with the blade champion, advance and charge out from cover. I'm thinking the big L on UKTC, right? So you can advance and charge behind the mid L and clear that as well. So that way they have to land in your home objective to stop it being sticky at some point, and your guard are now pushed up onto the left-hand flank. That's how I would play guard if you only had one squad of them. But I think you're right. I think having more battle line options, that's what I was looking at with CSM and War Dogs, to stop things like an easy secret mission. And I think Moiraxes are interesting for that. Again, that's why I sent you a list earlier on with 2 Deathwatch units in it for that reason, to basically have more flexibility on the battle line and less threat on my one guard squad. Actually, I had 2 guard squads, but
yeah. It's also things like the reason I don't sticky as much. I mean, if my opponent has no uppy downy or no deep strike or no, nothing of that degree, I will sticky and my home objective and move off. And that's happened a few times. Usually against, the last few times I've played that where that's been the case has been knights. Usually they start all on the board, especially if they've got big knights or something like that. Or like world eaters, unless Angron comes back. So, those kind of matchups I will, but someone like Hypercrypt Legion, or someone like, if there's an Imperial, an Imperial faction with a Calidus assassin, there's no point, because as soon as you're sticky, you move off, bang, they're on there.
But it telegraphs the fact they have to do it. So if you don't do it, then they can come down anywhere they want. If you do it, they're going down on your home objective. So you can keep line of sight on it. You could charge it, or you could.
But I get what you're saying, but at the same point, you've just done that against a unit. For example, what's a lone destroyer? Is that 35 points or something?
35.
Yeah. So Hypercrypt Legion, pick one of them up, put them on there. He does not care.
But if you don't do it, you've got 275 points sitting on your home objective all game.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I'm going to move away from having Custodian Guard doing it, and then thinking about what I'm going to do with there. What unit I'm going to put there.
Deathwatch.
Is it going to be a sister squad? is it going to be an Imperial Agent squad? Am I going to tow the back of a Caladius on there?
Deathwatch.
Or am
100
I going to
points.
run the Coronos and
Deathwatch.
all that kind of stuff? No, I like Deathwatch. I do. I really like them. I would probably say that out of all of the agents, now that the price have gone up on the subductors, or whatever they're called, Deathwatch are the ones that I'm really thinking about more. The issue I've got is, you know, if I've got, say, 105 or 110 points, I would normally want another Blade Champion, to be honest.
Which is fine. You've got 100 points. 100 points is Deathwatch.
Yeah, 100 points is Deathwatch, but a Blade Champion's 110.
Yeah, I know, but if you've got something on your home objective, right, and Deathwatch having 2 shields and 2 hammers is 100 points sitting there that you can then forget about. It's 5% of your army, rather than stuff having to do stuff still. It's got good OC. It will require somebody to come and shift it.
Yeah. I mean, there is an argument to put just a solo character on there.
Trajann by himself.
75 point. Yeah, well, no, I mean a 75-point mystic or whatever they're called.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So there is an argument for that, and if it's in the one with the elves, there's no way they're getting anywhere near back because you've got the 12-inch deep tractor now, so there's no way they're getting anywhere near there. So there is an argument for that. The problem, the problem if you're doing that, you've got no assassin. If you then run a Draxus.
See, without Draxus out of line of sight, and I know you're going to tell me I'm wrong on this, I'm still not convinced on Draxus. Granted, the points didn't change for her at the last points changes, but I just not Mystic, Navigator. She's a Navigator.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm almost dropping Draxus.
Which is the strangest thing to say, right? Because of how much we've gushed over her.
Yeah, I'm on the cusp of dropping her. The only reason I haven't dropped her is because I'm concerned with the prevalence of infantry now, with Blood Angels coming out, with Orcs being ridiculously cheap, with Death Guard with their really elite infantry coming down, with certain units of, for example, Havocs or stuff so cheap now. I'm just nervous that I'm not going to have that kind of, right, okay, double shooting anti-infantry 4+, I can spend 1 CP to give it sustained all of a sudden, and then also I've got 12 shots if I shoot twice, with sustained 2, strength 6, no AP, damage 2, but that will tear through Gene Stealer Cult.
Yeah. I'll get it.
Whereas if I go into migrate away from that, I'm going to have 8 shots. I'm going to have double shooting 16 shots with spears. When you think about what it is with Draxus and what it is without Draxus, it's night and day. And then when you look at the armies that everyone's raving about at the moment, the only one that is not really heavily infantry is Imperial Guard. Astra Militarum, everyone's saying they're back in a big way.
So my thing is that you still have to charge. So what you're giving up is Draxus being able to one shot with the guard squad with the double shoot, a crappy squad, versus then having to charge that squad anyway just to finish it off. So I just think 95 points and no indirect has just made me question Draxus as an auto take, but for sure.
Yeah. The lack of indirect was a big problem. But I think that what we're going to need her for is changing. Maybe we use her more.
She's been part of your list for a year, for a full year. She's
yeah. I mean, exorcists, right? Exorcists are going to be. I mean, they're already horrendous, and now that the points increases of sisters are kind of hitting all of their currently
Cascaders
massively
yeah.
overtuned units. Yeah, they're going to go more into 3 exorcists. I mean, oh Jesus, but
5,
into
7,
her as long as we get first turn and get the 2 up outside of 18 up. They can't shoot us as long as we get that up. Then we're as long as we don't roll a 1. She's immune from it, and the whole squad's immune from it.
I can't see 3 exorcists. I can see 1, maybe 2. 570 is a lot of points to put into indirect fire still, hitting on 4s.
Yeah, but it's a lot of good indirect fire though.
It is. So we kind of, I think, depressed ourselves here. So I don't want to. We're coming to 50 minutes, even with the.
Okay. Positives. Positives.
Yeah, positive.
What positives do you?
If you made it this far, guys. I think the positives aren't necessarily for Custodes, and this is where we're going to disagree. The positives are for the meta shifting, right? I think there was a lot of games before the points that were like, oh, for fuck's sake, here we go. Like, Bringers of Flame Sisters or Drukhari with their trades or whatever else. Those people will have to change their armies, which will make it more interesting for a Custodes player who's got an established list. We don't have to change in a time when we were at a 50% win rate, wherever it was, and everyone else does around us. With T-Sun's gone, well, T-Sun's being nerfed, with Sisters being hit hard, yes, they'll develop different play styles. Even, there was a version of Marines that got hit as well. Like, there's always going to be bad play styles. There's always going to be, like, I don't know, tank heavy play styles. But I am a bit more optimistic, I think, in looking at everyone else and what they will be playing. Because they're going to be learning the army at the time that we will know the army.
I mean, look, I get what you're saying. And what I would say is, if I'm going into 1,000 Suns, if I'm going in against a skilled player, them having 1 less character and 1 unit less of cultists, or 1 less spawn unit, it's not going to make a difference.
See, I think the points are heavier than that. I think it's like a 200 odd point increase for T-Suns.
It's about 150 for the really big build. The really good build is about 150. So, it's not going to make that much. It will into someone like Black Templars, okay? That will be good, but into some of the other factions, it's
Ruben's
not going to make
5 points. Vortex Beasts are up 10. Manx is up. I can't remember what he's up off the top of my head.
He's at 25. I think.
Is he 25? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look,
it's a good thing, right? But it's not. It's going to make it so that maybe we're more in touch with them, but it's not. They're still going to have the Improlific Crystal. They're still going to have the ridiculous flamers. That Overwatch and kill half a squad of ours. They're still going to have all of the high output, the rerolls. They're still going to have the double Doom Bolt. They're going to have all that kind of stuff. That stuff's not going to change. All they're going to have,
but their ability to play the game won't. If you lose cultists and their character, that's their scoring opportunity. So we could adapt to that, right? They had so much redundancy that their point scoring would be so much higher.
If I look back on it, the game I lost against 1,000 Suns, it was the guy that I think he got to the semi-final of the LGT. That was the 1,000 Suns player. That's the guy that I lost to in round 6 of Goonhammer.
Mm-hmm.
He had 1 unit of the goat demons or whatever they're called.
Zangors.
At the back. The Zangors at the back that didn't do anything the whole game. And he had 1 unit of Rubiks right at the front with a character in. Not at the front, sorry, behind a building with a character in that didn't do anything all game. And then I piled in and wiped them. All that would mean is he could drop the sorcerer that was in that Rubik squad and the Zangors and nothing's changed. That game has not changed at all. I would have still played it the same.
How many points
Because
did you lose
I
by?
charged into. I lost by 17 points.
Because the change to the secret
the-
mission, you saw that one as well, right?
Yeah, that was a secret mission, yeah.
No, but have you seen what the change is to the secret mission?
Yes, you can only score it you only don't get it in the 5th turn.
Yes, so you don't get your primary in the fifth turn as well. So the ones where I thought it was closer than that in that game, to be fair. But with that, like, the secret mission feel bad is a little bit different as well. I think we need to play some games with it and see. I'm more optimistic. I hope anyway.
Look, I mean, usually this is a bit of a role reversal. Usually,
100% is.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel weird trying to be the positive guy here.
It is a bit weird. I think it's just because the last few games I've played have been against quite good players, and those players have been running really optimized lists within factions that are far better than ours currently.
Yeah.
With rules, and what it's meant is the difference of Custodes against them has been really emphasised.
100%.
I mean, the other day into Demons was just it was an all apart from a few fiends, right? It was an all and plague bearers. It was all corn, and it was insane. Like I said, damage 4 sweeps from Scarbrand.
This is before, though, the points to change, right? You weren't playing with new points.
Yeah, this is before the points, but none of those things change for demons.
Ren Master's gone up.
Right?
Ren Master's gone up 15 points,
went up,
which would have changed some of what he had to adapt to.
He could have just dropped a unit of fiends. He didn't. There was one at the back he didn't use all game. So, the Fleshhounds. So, I think the points changes, whereas they will have closed the gap ever so slightly. I still think that other factions which were doing better than us, having much wider points reductions, was just really confusing for me. I mean, for us to get similar kinds of points reductions as Grey Knights, I was a bit like, what? You know, what the hell? You know, they had 3 units, I think, points reductions. And we had 4 or 5. Yeah, it's 5, just
3 dreads.
It just doesn't compute in my head. But points reductions was never the way we're going to fix Custodes. It needs to be fixed in the rules.
And it won't. And the ultimate thing is that it won't be fixed in the rules. The Codex has only just come out. I think GW are happy where it's balanced for Custodes. I really do. Which means we need to adapt.
Yeah. I tell you what, Games Workshop, if you're listening, I know they don't give a shit about what me and you think, but if they're listening, Balance Team, if you're listening, we will give you 4 detachments for free.
Easy.
That are completely balanced and much better than the ones you've got, and we'll do it for free for you.
I think it's called the 9th edition Codex, but yeah, that's So I think my final thoughts are, I don't think Custodes can win a GT. I think Custodes could win an RTT if you got lucky in some of the pairings. Post points, I think it's the same conclusion, and it's a little bit sad that a player like yourself, without blowing smoke here, can't win. Like, you know, I'm used to it because of the factions I like playing, but you can't. You know, there's going to be just a game in a GT that you just get screwed in, and Custodes are still like that. And if they've got high damage output and you put a lot of saves on Custodes, they're still going to die. That's always going to be the way with Custodes. I do think the armies we're going to play will be different for a little bit, and I think that will make a more interesting month or two, just going into Christmas, that other people are going to have to try and work out how to... Because the defensive profiles are still the same. Everyone's going to complain about the T6 4-up in run 3 wounds. That hasn't changed for us. If you can make your 4-ups, Custodes will still become a very hard army to break down and get rid of. You're still very strong in the combat phase, and especially if you play Shield Host, you still got your go every turn, 5's exploding. Like, I still think that Custodes are a tough army to break down. I just think that at that top level, like we talk about quite a lot, they are still a weak faction. And that's ultimately where the frustration is for yourself, I think.
I think we'll win GT, but I think it'll be, and this is no disrespect. Yeah, but this is no disrespect to other Custodes players or people who would win a GT. I think it'll be in an area where the meta is quite limited. In an area where there's not that many. Well, not necessarily the Appalachian Mountains. You know, it could be in an area where there's a relatively small amount of players, or
it's
you may only have, say, for example, you may only, example, have one or two players that are, you know, meta chasers and really good players. You know, and you know, I think you'll probably get a few GT wins that way, and that's not being disrespectful. I don't mean it to be anyway, but where you have high concentrations of players, I think we won't. For example, London. We won't win a GT in London.
If you are a Custodes player who has won a GT, please put in the comment section, ha ha ha, Alan, I know more than you.
No, yeah, like I said, outside, you know, in areas, in and around London, we won't. We definitely won't win super majors.
No. And that upper limit to Custodes is just lower sad. And because Custodes only have one way of playing, that's also sad. So, like, we've harped on more than enough times on this podcast, but it's our podcast, I can do what I want, about how 9th edition had different playstyles. And that's the thing that we are so missing from Custodes, right? If you were getting fatigued with infantry slogging lists, which I think I've always been fatigued with it, there is no dread spam list. There's no speed list. There's no Caladius with Telemon build, like gunline list, which is how I used to love playing my Custodes. Like, you don't have the options to play there. The points reductions aren't enough to make that different. The strats and the detachments aren't enough to make that different. This is the way GW want you to play Custodes, and you either have to know that it's just going to be a hard slog sometimes, but that is what it is. I just find it it's a limited way of playing. I think the games will still play slightly differently because of who's going to be turning up with what. But I understand your frustration. I understand your disappointment.
Just to finish from me, the biggest thing which pissed me off more than anything was they actually went in to the Imperial armor for Custodes and they changed the datasheet for the Telemon.
Did they?
Actually changed. Yeah, they made it so that if they've got two fists, it's got 2 more attacks. Right.
So they can change datasheets.
They were willing to do that in the Imperial armor, which they said they weren't really going to touch the Imperial armor that much. But they weren't willing to go into the Codex datasheet for bikes and fix that. So you've still got both abilities in the bikes that rely on you making an advance move, which means you can't shoot or charge.
I remember bikes being fun.
So it's kind of like saying 140 points, right? 140 points now for 2 bikes, right, with 4 wounds each, toughness 6. Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
I'm just going to come out now.
If you use, go on.
I'm going to come out now and say a 2 15-point Telemon with double fists and double flamers is the new meta. Take 3 of them.
No, they're still shite. They're still crap.
Take 3 of them.
But you know, the fact that they could do that and not go in and fix other data sheets was just, it's criminal, absolutely criminal, and it just shows how little understanding they have of Custodes. I'd be amazed if anyone in the rules team has even tried playing with bikes against a competitive faction.
I think it's funny, right? So, just on that thought, and maybe it's a theme for a different time. I have seen people talking about like, oh, I really love running my 2 bikes with hurricane bolters on it, and it's like, yeah, but what are you playing into? Because if you're playing into anything like half decent or half meta, you don't take bikes, and you don't take them at this points level, But if you're trying to get rid of hordes, they've got the twin linked.
A funny story. I was when I was playing the demons this week, 2 tables down was a Custodes guy playing against. I think it was. I can't remember which one it was. It was either Grey Knights or it was the new Blood Angels. That some guy was obviously running with the new points, or not the new points, but old points, but new models. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he had a load of bikes. I think he had 6, 2 squads of 3.
Jesus.
And each one had a captain. And I looked over after about half an hour, and they were all dead.
Of course, yeah, 100%.
100%. And I actually walked over, and I think this guy was tabled by turn 3. And I was just like, okay, fine. Now, maybe they're casual players, and that was fine. But the list that he was playing into was sharp. And if we're, there's so many units in the custodian list, in the Custodes database, or everything, data sheets, which just can't compete at a basic level, can't compete at a casual level, and can't compete at the competitive level. And that's why they're getting quite boring to play, because you have to rely on 1 or 2, maybe 3 data sheets for every single detachment. And it's just not up to scratch. And unfortunately, that's the way it is.
And on that bombshell, if you've enjoyed our podcast, I warned people it was going to be a moany one this time, and I think it's a frustrated one rather than anything else, right?
It's a frustrated one, yeah, it's a frustrated one. But if you've listened this far, you're thank you very much. And yes, we will be back with a bit of a take afterwards. Oh, and if you are interested at all in watching the game that I had in Goonhammer, it's on the Hellstorm. It was streamed on Hellstorm, right, Ollie? Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It was streamed on Hellstorm.
And it was day 2 of the Goonhammer tournament. The second game, the middle game.
I think I'll put it on our chat, but if not, we'll link it below in the description.
Yeah.
And then next time we return,
it's
I'll
just
be the
interesting.
One, and then you can be the positive one, yeah?
Yeah. It's just an interesting game to watch, not so much in terms of me playing, but in terms of how we just couldn't control, how our faction has difficulty controlling something like Hypercrypt.
I think you played the game very, very well, with the exception of the Coronis at the start, and you managed to keep that as such a close game. Such a close game. So, please, comment below if you watched it. If that
Coronis would have survived that, I think I would have won it. But
I agree.
Never mind.
Comment below.
Awesome.
Thanks. Like, subscribe, all the rest of it. And apologies for the audio issues at halfway through, but hopefully we'll get this fixed for next time.
We'll sort it out.
Bye.